Hour 2 Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. We've got our buddy Marc Methot coming up here in a few moments, get his take on what happened in Game 1 last night from his standpoint, from a Sens standpoint. It was a big one for the Leafs. They don't win at home often in the Matthews-Marner playoff era, and they don't win Game 1 often in the Matthews-Marner playoff era. They did both last night. They won big, and it was an electric evening. It was a really fun crowd, and I do think there's something to the Battle of Ontario. I've said this a lot throughout the second half of the season when it looked like it was trending towards this, that I think if that's Boston, if it's Florida, if it's Tampa, it's a nervous energy. I think the fans are really, really kind of bundled up and thinking, where's this going to go? There's dark energy there. I thought it was an incredibly confident crowd, electric, fun-loving crowd last night. I think that dates back to 20 years ago. It's one thing Leaf fans have had. I've said it 15,000 times in the last 3 months. The Battle of Ontario is comforting for Leaf fans.
I give credit to the coach. I obviously give a ton of credit to the fans for having a different vibe where it's like the big debate has been, is it the chicken or the egg? Do we need to make some noise, or do they need to show us something to make some noise? But they showed up there, and they were just fans. Like, I don't know if the Suits got rid of their tickets and they sold them or what the hell, but that looked like Leafs Nation that was in there last night.
Well, I knew.
Like you said there, you saw a lot of jerseys. It was like, that's
a lot
a nice
of jerseys,
thing.
man. No suits.
Yeah.
One guy in a suit in the whole building.
And if you sold them last night, sell them again, because that was a crowd. But I give credit to the coach because they seemed prepared, and he knew what he was up against. He knew why he was brought here. He knew the history. He knew the performance in the past. And the guy's won a Stanley Cup. He's got experience. He's a great coach. And to put that all in a blender and try to get his team ready, as I said earlier, it's one game, but Game 1 was good job.
Well, I knew some like Bay Street people that were down there, but it's a Sunday. So I agree with you, Hayes. Like, I think it was more – they just relaxed and went to the game. Like, it wasn't about, it's a Thursday night, I got to entertain a guy from here and all of that, and we're going to go down to the club and eat, and half the game we're going to be underneath here and come out. They went as fans. They went as, hey, I happen to have season tickets here,
right,
and I'm not entertaining. I'm going down with my son. I'm going with my brother, my wife, you name it. Like, I knew a few people that were, we'll call them, Bay Street people that were down there as fans. And I don't think they're wearing suits. I think they're wearing jeans and a shirt.
Jerseys and ready to rock. And
really,
the outlier in the section I was in was the Kachucks, because Keith was like 20 feet from where I was. And you talk about having a presence. Like, everyone was like, Keith Kachuk's right up there. There's Tkachuk. Like, and he just sat there and watched the game. And I was in front of him. I don't know what he was doing during the game, but it was an interesting night because, again, speaking on the fans and what I wanted to get to, was I've never thought of that building or this fan base as a chanting fan base or a chanting building.
Here's another thing. Never heard it one time.
All of a sudden, Brady Sucks was ringing out the whole night. Like, it must have picked up steam 5, 6, 7 times.
And, dude, I don't even care if it was about Brady. It could have been Go Leafs Go. Anything.
Right, but what I'm saying, Go Leafs Go, you hear sometimes. Or you hear some people try to get it going. Like, Brady Sucks was really ringing out last night. There were Ullmark kind of catcalls in the third period last night. And, Brady was a big topic of discussion. Like, what's he going to look like? And I'm curious if he's 100%. We're not going to get that answer. Like, we don't know, but he had the breakaway opportunity, and beyond that, I didn't notice him a lot. I know the analytics of their line 5-on-5 was whatever, but I thought the Matthews line did a really good job, and Tanev and McCabe did a really good job of pushing them out, and Stützle the same thing. Like, he was frustrated with the penalties. He never really broke loose. Like, Stützle was never really in a position where he broke loose, and that's his first playoff game. Like, it's a lot. You guys played in your first playoff games. Like, there's a lot of nerves. It doesn't matter that you went 3-0 in the regular season. It's completely irrelevant come playoff time.
You convince yourself that the stakes are so much higher, which they ultimately are. But when you just come back to reality, you're like, it's the same game. It can be faster. It can be more intense. But you can't like psych yourself up into thinking you're playing a different sport. Like, I don't know. Hit early, get hit early, or throw a hit early was the best recipe, where it's like, get that out of the way and then just play the game.
I think the game is the same. You just play. Ice is more contested. That's the only thing. Like, on a back check, we see it. On a Tuesday night in November, a guy maybe stop skating, or you kind of, okay,
business
that's a 2-on-1.
at times.
Yes, exactly. That's a great way to frame it. It's like, all right, let's trust the goalie to make a save here. And, you know, in the playoffs, it's like, okay, you can't give up that chance because it might be in the back of your net. That's where I was talking about the critical areas of the ice. I didn't think Ottawa defended those critical areas very well. And that's the difference. You know, for me, you give up grade A's. Now, Ottawa generated a couple grade A's, but the goaltender Stolarz made the stops. Ullmark didn't make those stops. That was ultimately, you can lay it all down, power plays, refs, all of that.
You got to score on your grade A opportunities.
Exactly.
You only get so many. Ottawa didn't. The Leafs did. And, you know, another example of playoffs decisions compared to regular season decisions, Matthew Nyes blocked that shot at 5-2, and it looked bad. Like, it looked like that could be trouble, man. It's 5-2, game one. Did he just break his wrist or hand or finger, and he scores a goal, 2 minutes later to close the game out? And that's a big moment. That's putting your body on the line. And I think from Brady's perspective, he was trying to rev the engine up, but I thought the Leafs did a really good job of diffusing the situation. And just like I was saying early, flip pucks out, make a quick pass, and you're gone. And he just couldn't get going. And Stützle wasn't helping him enough to really push them over the top. But we've talked a lot about Game 1 last night from our perspective. A lot of it leaning in terms of where the Leafs are at and what they did last night. Let's chat with a guy that's very familiar with playoff hockey and playing for the Sens in particular. Here's our TSN hockey analyst, former NHLer, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Here's Marc Methot. What'd you make of that game last night, Matt? If there's one thing in particular from a Sens perspective, once the game came to an end, what was it? Like, what was the one thing you were kind of hammering on last night?
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, I listened to Noodles, the tail end of Noodles, and I heard you too, Hazy. I think you guys kind of nailed it pretty good there as far as the goaltending matchup was huge. We knew that going into the series. The penalty kill was atrocious, but again, I say this to people, this has been an issue for this group all season, so there was no surprises there. You're hoping for a spark and getting a couple kills, and we can squabble about the officiating all we want. I don't like doing that, especially as a former player. I think it's a bit of a cop-out, but maybe there's a little credence there perhaps with a couple of those first penalties, but I won't get into that. I think ultimately, and the team, and I'm talking about Ottawa, they looked like they were playing in their first playoff game. I know they've got some experience. They brought in Perron, Amadio. They've got Cousins, who didn't obviously play last night. Giroux's got a lot of playoff experience. It's just their core guys couldn't come through. And then I heard you guys mentioning Brady a little bit there as well. I mean, they took 14 minors yesterday. I mean, that was the most. Now, a lot of them were coincidental and toward the end, but that was the most amount of penalties, like minors at least, that any team has taken since, like, I think Montreal in 2013 in their respective playoffs. So, you're going to take a ton of you're going to take a ton of penalties. Guys like Brady, guys like Tim Stützle, they're not going to be on the ice, right? They don't kill penalties, so they're not getting the puck. They're not getting into the flow of the game for them either. So. I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's raining in Ottawa today, guys, but today's been a tough day, So I'm hoping. And I talked to Josh, your producer, just before I came on with you guys. I was mentioning to him, like, I just want a competitive series. Like, I know a lot of Toronto fans think I'm like the resident, Sens fanboy, and to a degree, I suppose I kind of am. But I think first and foremost, I just want a competitive series. You heard Stolarz reference the series potentially being a bloodbath heading into it. And I'm obviously not advocating for a bunch of, gooning out there or anything like that. But I just want some drama, and I didn't feel like I got enough of it yesterday. It just sort of felt underwhelming from a Sens fan perspective. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Meth, I think we discussed in the first hour that there needs to be a lot of elevation from some of the Sens top forwards. I think if you go through it, I think Batherson, maybe Pinto at times were the only guys to kind of where you notice, like, we basically broke it down where you said who played, like, Hayes was in the building. It was like who really had played great for Ottawa, and it's not a whole lot, so they need a lot of elevation. The question is it a layup for who leads the charge in that. Like Brady is connected to this team. It's like you say the Sens, and then the next thing you say is Brady Tkachuk. Like, is he the guy that has to lead the charge as far as the elevation of their top players?
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, I'd be lying if I said he wasn't a huge part of that. I mean, it's Brady Tkachuk, right? And I do think that, we probably set the bar a little high for him. He comes off relatively successful by the U.S.'s standpoint, I suppose. Like at the Four Nations Cup, he was terrific, right? Like he was impactful, he was scoring, he was fighting. Like it was Tkachuk style hockey. But the NHL playoffs are a different animal. I mean, you're playing the top seed in the Atlantic. Toronto's a well-oiled machine. You have to respect that. So, matchups are a big part of it, and I think. From my experience playing, I mean, when you get a chance to play against that same line night in and night out, and you're already very familiar, particularly in the first round matchups, when you're playing against a divisional opponent, you know what their tendencies are. Like when I played against Sid in the conference final, just as an example, back in 2017, like I knew the tendencies of that line. Like it's easier to defend as the series prolongs, right? So my point is, and to your point there, you have to start relying and getting some secondary scoring. And the big question for me leading into tomorrow night is, and I don't know where you guys stand on this. I know Noodles has been exposed to a ton of Sens hockey this season. What do you do with Zetterlund? Like I watched him play last night, and I made a comment on X after the game about it, where like you have to elevate that man. Like he's right there, and he brings it. He's got the leg speed. He's got energy. And in a game where it felt like Ottawa was sort of kind of a passenger, and again, you can chalk that up to nerves, but I don't know who you move. Like, do you move Giroux? Like, how do you say that to Claude Giroux if you're Travis Green? I mean, I get it. It's a playoff game, and you got to do it. The team first kind of thing, but there's him, there's maybe David Perron you slide down, and I realize moving a player like Zetterlund doesn't necessarily move the entire needle like all the way, but it's those little tweaks that you have to make. And so, yeah, like responsibility for sure falls on Brady and Stützle up front. I would argue, they're the two guys in their prime up front. They're the two star players. But I'm looking around the lineup at other players. Like you mentioned, Pinto had a pretty good evening. I think you're right there, and Batherson as well. But that's not enough, right? And then there were some huge blunders on the back end. Like I didn't think Shabbat and Jensen had a great evening either. They were pretty bad on the first two goals. So, and then you couple that with all the penalty killing they had to do, it's a recipe for disaster. So, yeah, I think tomorrow night it really just comes down to matchups. Like, I think I really like what Berube did. I mean, he was playing Matthews' line straight up against Brady. They were challenging them.
I love
Toronto,
that.
Yeah, like that was my first thing I noticed, and I'm thinking like me just having that experience playing in those, like you're always looking for your matchups, right? I just assumed Pinto's line was going to get a lot of Matthews and Nyes and Marner that night yesterday, but it didn't happen. And I know they have the second change, but you can still fight to get the matchup a little bit. But all in all, yeah, I mean that was all Toronto, in my opinion.
So was it treating tomorrow? Is it water off a goose's back? Did you hear that saying?
What happened in the postgame? I heard something.
Okay, so Hayes, Linus Ullmark in his scrum was, being philosophical and just saying, hey, you got to, all of that stuff. But he said, you got to treat it like a goldfish. That's the Ted Lasso comment, and have no. And then he goes, just water off a goose's back. And we're all like, does that mean water off a duck's back?
Well, Jamie, I'll ask you first.
thing?
Was that like nervous energy, or was that really calm? Or you're like, that guy's kind of cool and he's ready to rock, or was it bizarre?
I think it's two. So I let Meth answer, but I think Greeny's going to have some adjustments quickly on the Zetterlund, Giroux, and that. Doesn't matter who's a vet and who's a not. You have to go with who you believe is going to give you the best opportunity in-game, so there should have been an in-game adjustment, or heading into the next game. I would argue that Nick Cousins is going to come in probably tomorrow for Ottawa, just to, he's a different dynamic, that, that type of, guy who likes to get underneath the skin. But getting back to Ullmark and the comment, I think it's a little bit of both. Let's Linus Ullmark, if you've ever talked to him, but he can't be happy with that performance. So you have to put it behind him, whatever it's water off the goose's back. But he has to be better, and he has to show his teammates that he'll be better in game two. I don't know how you feel about that, Matt.
Yeah, well, I mean, and again, like any Canadian market that is down one game after, the first game of the series in the playoff round, people are starting to panic, and there's a lot of kind of chatter going around about potentially who would you start in that second game. Well, I mean, right off the top, you obviously go back with Ullmark. It's an insane thought to even go elsewhere. But having said all that, I think, it was a tough one for him last night. But at the same time, if you break down every goal on an individual level, goal by goal by goal, I mean, the number one thing I'm noticing, and particularly through the first 4 goals for Toronto, it was all middle ice. Like Ottawa was just giving up middle ice everywhere, and that's how it started on the on the Olivier Ekman-Larsson goal. So it basically just comes down the ice with Lott and Yarncroke, and they kind of do their thing in the neutral zone and wide open in the middle ice. No one's challenging anybody. So again, it's like, is that just a one-off? I think Ullmark might be correct there. I think nerves played a huge part of it. Like, you guys know when you played, I always go back to my first playoff game back in 2009. We were playing the Red Wings. I was with Columbus. Hitchcock was our coach, and I was a rookie. We got swept that series, and obviously Detroit ended up winning the Stanley Cup that year. But my point is, I remember how I felt in that first game. My legs were shot. Like, it felt like I was skating through mud, and no matter how hard I wanted to work, I just couldn't get through. And by the end of the first period, I was exhausted. And a lot of that was just nerves, being anxious. You're overthinking everything, and you're trying to compensate with hard work by running around. And so I think for them, if you're going into tomorrow night's game and you're looking for a projection, sure, you're probably going to get more pushback from Ottawa. They're going to settle in a little bit more, but I'm concerned about that penalty kill. I'm concerned about Ullmark. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you want a Vezina. There were a lot of inconsistencies throughout the season. He finished strong, a lot like Stolarz did, but he was wildly inconsistent at times in the regular season. So you're worried. Is that rearing its ugly head again? Is this going to persist, or is he going to find his game again? But that only works if you can limit those high danger chances. If you're a defenseman or a forward, you got to come back to the house. You got to protect it. You can't let them get in there. So again, I can talk about Ottawa ad nauseum, but you lost to the division champs and they played like it, and that's what it came down to.
With Marc Methot, and Linus Ullmark now has allowed 4 goals or more in 6 of his 10 career playoff starts. And last year, the Leafs had issues with Swayman. They did not have issues necessarily with Ullmark, but to your point, he's going in. He has to. He's your guy. He's the guy. He's the franchise. He's the guy that you got to rely on, and he's got to have a big game tomorrow night. And I'm curious. You mentioned Berube and his approach. The politicking after the game, where you said fans are going to have their reaction to the calls, the players are going to have their reaction, but game 1 is where you can lay a framework down. If you're Berube, he started doing it. If you're Green, he started doing it. What would you anticipate the officiating could look like tomorrow night?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I mean, you guys are calling it from Toronto, but
do you think we're in the ear of the NHL office?
No, I'm not suggesting that, but okay. I think ultimately the consensus generally, I'm being very careful around the league, is it's good for the league when Toronto does well, and it's like sort of hockey central, if you will, when it comes to the NHL and biggest market in the league. So. Now, I'm not suggesting that the refs are throwing the game and they're going to sort of be a little more biased. I didn't like how soft those initial calls were, especially for a playoff game. Like the one on, I'm trying to reference back a couple of them.
The first one I thought was really soft.
The boarding call was soft, and if you're a Toronto fan, you're going to have a different perspective, and I understand that too, and that's just the way the game is. And then if the Gaudette call in the second period, I think it was on Matthews, and that put them down to 5-on-3. Again, and maybe I'm cherry picking a little bit, but I can remember playing, and I know it was a while back, you're going back 7 years, but it's you'd get away with a little bit more, the physicality, and that's what kind of raises the drama up in a series. But in any case, the more, Ottawa's not even thinking about it. I'm sure they've addressed it. I'm sure Travis Green's saying, guys, we have to stay out of the freaking box. We need our top players on the ice here. But at the same time, you don't want to neuter your team from playing hard and going hard out there and getting in their faces. Because I think if you're the Senators, you're not going to go out there and trade chances with Toronto all night. You can't play their game. You're going to get worked. So you're going to have to get in their face. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to get in front of Stolarz, talk to him, try to get under his skin. Those are things that I'd be encouraging. And again, that's just me, but those are sort of the elements that I would be encouraging forwards to do. And even with the defense, be hard around Ullmark. punish guys that are going in there with the extra jab at your goaltender on a rebound. Like, you got to do something about that. But again, it comes down to mindset, mentality, your personnel. Ottawa's personnel doesn't necessarily fit the bill that well when it comes to the PK, so I don't see a whole lot changing there. Ultimately, they need the goaltending to pick up. They got to stay disciplined, and they got to steal a game tomorrow night, and that's their best chance.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it is a long series. And listen, the Leafs have been in the position Ottawa's in right now so many times in the last decade where, you know, they either lose in game one or get blown out. They lost 5-1 at home to Boston last year in game one, or in Boston. And it was like, all right, here we go. You got to reset. And, you know, you end up winning game two, you split it, and it goes 7. Ultimately, that's really all Ottawa was looking for here, was come in, get a split. But, you know, if you're the Leafs now, Meth, you know, they're the veteran team. They're in the driver's seat. They have home ice. They won last night. Their goalie outperformed the other guy.
Yep.
What would scare you from a sense perspective? Like, if you see something through 20 minutes tomorrow night, is it Stolarz is dialed in? Is it, you know, Matthews is cooking, who I thought played really well last night, but he's capable of breaking games open unlike anybody else on the ice. Is there anything in particular the Leafs might do through 20 minutes tomorrow night where you'd say, uh-oh, this could be trouble for game two?
Well, I think it ultimately just comes down to the discipline angle that I keep mentioning with Ottawa. Like, if you're going to give them those chances to get good puck touches, lots of time and space for guys like Nylander, Matthews, Marner, and they're just feeling it, that's when they start connecting, and then they're confident. I think the one thing I want to see Ottawa do tomorrow night is just match that physicality. It just felt like they were always chasing it earlier on in that game, and that kind of set the tone, and the penalties set them back, of course. But ultimately, and I know fans don't want to hear that over there, but you got to get under their skin somehow. You have to play physical. Like, you have to make life incredibly difficult for Toronto's top guys. The only counter to that is Ottawa doesn't really have, outside of Clevin and Matt and Paolo perhaps on the third pairing, which I think analytically they were probably their best pairing last night outside of Sanderson. They don't really have a lot of bite back there. And that's where I was critical of Toronto's back end to a degree, because I didn't think they had a game breaker. But I mean, based on game one, I underestimated the experience, and that's the biggest thing. So, you know, try to get physical on them, try to get under the skin, draw some penalties. They drew the most penalties in the NHL this past year. Got to see that continue in the postseason. But that only happens if they're confident, they're feeling good, and they're not gripping their sticks. And that's what it is.
Meth, thanks a lot for doing this. Really appreciate it. I want to get you out of here with this question. If you were at the game and Bryan Hayes approached you and he had a nice suit on, and in the front of the suit, because this is what he actually wore to the game.
Okay.
He had a fanny pack because he had some like an IFB and a pen and a phone.
There's a backstory.
So this guy wore a blue suit with a fanny pack above his privates.
Yeah, but like, so why not?
But if he went in for a bro hug and said, "Meth, what's up?" and you saw the fanny pack, what is your first initial reaction?
I couldn't cold shoulder that man. Not in Toronto, at least. If it was in Ottawa, I'd probably come in pretty strong, try to embarrass him a little bit, and try to wonder what that bulge was that was leaning up against me when I was giving him a hug.
Fanny pack.
But I would suggest carry a briefcase. I don't see enough of that in the sporting world. Noodles and I, like, whenever I run into Noodles at the rink, we've always got our little backpacks. Yeah. Wear a leather suitcase. You'll look classy.
Kramer.
Yeah.
There's a long story, man.
I got one. It's right in front of this.
I was in the seats. All right. I'm not carrying a briefcase around in the seats. And that's what threw me off, Matt. Usually I'm in the press box. I'll bring a backpack. I'll bring a whatever. You know, I've got everything covered. It's in the seats, and I'm like, I got to bring an IFB. I'm doing TV after the game. I got to bring a tie. I got to bring a phone charger. So I had the fanny pack. And I think I pulled it off beautifully. It turns out there's people. Go ahead,
Casey. Were you sitting among the common folks?
Yes.
Like in the crowd?
Oh, I was among the people. I am a man.
He wanted the full experience.
Wow.
Absolutely, I am a man of the people. The only guy in a suit last night in the lower bowl, and it was an exciting night to be there. But that's why I was rocking the fanny pack, and people are sending me in pictures, me walking down Front Street trying to get into the game. They're snapping pictures of me with the fanny pack on. And I find that very unsettling, that there's paparazzi out there trying to There it is. Look at me. I'm just trying to cross the road.
I don't see the pack, though. Like
Here's why. Okay, if you're up on
hiding it.
TSN4, if you're watching, I have a brown belt on. You can't see it because I have the blue strap over the brown belt.
But where's the actual pack?
It's
You have it
behind
tucked
me.
in. Oh,
It's
you got it in the
Behind
back.
the jacket. You'd never know I had the fanny pack
Oh,
on.
so you rotated it around the back.
Yes. I'm not a buffoon.
that's somewhat better, but it's still. I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't want to make fun of you. I
Dude,
find it
yeah, you
cool,
do.
but
Yeah,
jump
you
in
do,
line.
man.
it's just like of all the choices you had, like you probably have backpacks laying around, an old sports bag, something cool with a Toronto logo on it, but you
I did.
opted to go with. Yeah, I don't know. I'm
The
not
fanny
feeling that.
pack. It's a
Fair enough.
lifestyle choice, man. I think it's a whole – I'm going to bring in a whole new era. You're going to see tomorrow night, Game 2, fanny packs. That's what the Leafs should hand out. Fans can fling them around like the towels last night. Get fanny packs going. Make
I don't
fanny
even know what to
packs
say here.
great again,
Yeah,
please.
that's awesome. Awesome.
All right, Meth. Good luck tomorrow night. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
All right, guys. Cheers. Thanks for
There's
having me.
Marc
Bye.
Methot. He said it's raining in Ottawa. I know. We all know that feeling, man. Like literally this time last year, remember they lost 5-1 in Boston, and it's like, here we go. They lost. What are they going to do? Like, the Leafs lose Game 1 almost every year, and Leaf fans panic, and then you think they can't possibly get back in the series, and then they win Game 2, and this is what will happen tomorrow. If Ottawa wins tomorrow, Sens fans will come out and be like, I knew it. Sens in 6. Always believed Ottawa's going to win this series. Ullmark's the best. You know, that's the ebbs and flows of a playoff round.
It's everywhere. I mean, we're going to get to that when? Next hour?
The mini Jerry's? Yeah, we can do
it's
that with
only one
CJ.
game. Who are we going to come back with? Because I know which team
It's only one game, but
No,
Yep.
I know which team that lost Game 1 that I feel that there's going to be a big response.
Okay, so that's a response for Game 2, but you're saying you think a response for the whole series. And
My
they-
mini
no, just-
Jerry's is
yeah.
the percentage. It's an umbrella. Any one of the teams that lost Game 1, one of them can win the series. What's
I'm
the percentage?
I'm high on it. I'm high.
Me too.
Yeah, I
Me
think-
why don't you just fire out your answer?
I'll say
Give it to me.
90%. I think 90%, at least. Yeah, 90%.
I'll go first if you.
Go ahead.
I think Dallas, but I know Dallas is in one. But Pete DeBoer is not. He's a hell of a coach. There's going to be adjustments. Now
They're
I
a
think
good
Colorado. I think Colorado is a better team just because Dallas is weakened without Robertson, without
Hey,
Hayes.
but Noodles, you got to give a percentage. So are you 100%?
No. I'm in the 50-50, but Dallas didn't look good Game 1, and Colorado looked like rock stars.
But-
I could see Dallas coming back.
You're saying any of the teams. So Ottawa,
Any of the-
Minnesota, St. Louis, New
All of the
Jersey,
teams that dumped the Game
Dallas.
1s that we've seen thus far,
Dallas
any
is
of
for
them
me.
come back to win.
Okay.
I'm going to go 85%.
Okay.
One of them's going to come back and win a
Oh,
series.
yeah, for sure. I would expect that. I think.
Oh, I thought you meant choose a team. Sorry.
But Dallas is, I think, the reasonable choice. I
Right.
think you can make a case. St. Louis, they threw everything at Winnipeg, and Winnipeg still found a way to win. I think that's going to be tough. But St. Louis is a resilient team, Binnington and net. And I think from Ottawa and the Leafs standpoint, the Leafs still have to prove completely that they're different, and this is different, right? It's on the Leafs as much as it is Ottawa.
Oh, yeah, let's not get carried away.
Exactly. Like the Leafs they got to get to the finish line of a series before anyone's going to completely breathe and believe that they're going to take care of business. So, yeah, I'm high on that. And it's going to be even higher after tonight, right? You got L.A. and Edmonton. You got Montreal and Washington starting tonight. Tomorrow you've got the Battle of Florida beginning.
I saw a stat today. I think that Edmonton in Game 1, I think they're like 2-8 in their last 10. Mm-hmm. They lose Game 1 every year, it feels like.
And it doesn't cause them any problems, especially against L.A. They always
but
find a way to win that series.
In the end, the thing is one of these series, like there's going to be a shock. Who knows what the shock's going to be?
100%. It feels
Right?
like one of those years. Like that really, who knows what the final combination is going to be at the
Right.
finish line, but I think you got to brace for chaos. I mean, that generally is the way it plays out. All right, there was some chaotic pressers around the league today. Dylan Larkin speaking on the trade deadline. Talk about a message to management and ownership. He sent one. Jimmy Rutherford out in Vancouver is basically channeling our boy Who was the former GM?
Jimmy
with
Benning.
Jimmy Benning. It must be something in Van.
Buffalo, he's
But-
like, yeah, we're going after Subban and
No,
Stamkos.
I'm going to
Got
defend
that?
those comments. I'm
Okay.
going to defend them, but I
right.
have to do an SC hit, but I want to at least
You will
weigh
get an
in
opportunity
at
to
some point.
defend.
Okay.
Well, I got to hear them while
Instead
you're
of
gone because
PK
I
and
want to hear them.
Steven, it's Luke and Jack this time. But we'll get to that and some change in Seattle, pretty significant change. We'll tell you about that as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Chris Johnston joining us in about a half an hour, and Bruno Gervais will join us as well of RDS ahead of Habs Caps game 1 tonight. We got the Oilers in action. We got Winnipeg in action. Sets up beautifully for a lot of Canadian content tonight. So we'll start looking ahead to those games. And yet, a lot of the teams throughout the NHL that didn't make the playoffs, what you're getting is locker cleanouts and press conferences. And there's a couple of clips here that are ringing out, so to speak, in the hockey world and in the sports world, for that matter. I think let's begin with Dylan Larkin, because we've talked a lot about Steve Yzerman and the Yzer plan, and he's been there in Tampa or in Detroit for a long time. They have made the playoffs, and that's Hockey Town, USA. Prior to them missing the playoffs, they had the longest streak, I believe, in pro sports history, like 26 years in a row.
23 years,
playoffs.
yeah.
Crazy. And they won all those cups, and they won all of those cup finals and all those Hall of Famers. And they've been an afterthought in the league, quite frankly, for the better part of 6 or 7 years. Like, really just not a player. And that sticks out this year. I'm getting off track already. But with Boston not in it, the Rangers not in it, Chicago not in it, Detroit not in it, Pittsburgh and Sid not in it, it's just it feels different.
Yeah.
Like, it's got
By the
a
way,
different
I think it's
vibe
9
to
years
it.
for Detroit.
9 years without making the playoffs. And Yzerman's been there for a lot of it, with the understanding that he's going to reload and retool, and it was going to take some time. But Dylan Larkin has been there for the whole time as well, and he's their captain. And he was asked about the trade deadline and his view on what happened or what didn't happen. And here's what he had to say.
You got to come up with wins, and I think, especially in March, it was hard. That we didn't do anything, and then I felt the group kind of we didn't gain any momentum from the trade deadline, and guys were kind of down about it. So it'd be nice to add something and bring a little bit of a spark on the ice, and maybe a morale boost as well.
I don't like that comment. It's like, you guys, maybe a bunch of you guys got to play better. How about that? I mean, yeah, you could go get somebody else, but I don't know. A bunch of those guys wanted the contracts, and they don't play that well.
Well, and they had to fire a coach, right? And Todd McClellan came in, and they went on a heater, and they got into the playoffs. The year before, they were in the playoffs with 10 games to go, give or
Dude,
take,
they did
and
the same
melted.
thing. As soon as they got McClellan in there, they went on a heater, and then they just come back to earth, and they're the same old team.
They're not that good. I mean, that is one thing. I understand the frustration of Larkin. Now, it's conflicting because you're the captain, and it's like, what kind of impression are you supposed to?
And you're a competitor, but to say, like, we were bummed out that we didn't get anybody, it's like, I don't know. A bunch of those guys needed to play better. But for the organization, and Noodles isn't here, but if you want to piss around with all those goaltenders they've gone through, and I don't know what else was available, but if Colorado could flip their goaltenders and have two different guys in there, when you're pissing around with, who's our guy from St. Louis, Ville Husso or whatever his name, Ville Husso and Talbot and Alex Lyon, like, I don't know, man. Like, those guys weren't good enough. They were not good enough watching their games.
It wasn't. And listen, I think Larkin has an understandable case to make for why he's frustrated. Like,
yeah, there's no star power there,
there's
Brian.
nothing.
Patrick Kane is over the hill. He's still a quality player.
Tarasenko.
And Dylan Larkin's a good player, but he's not. They don't move the needle, man. They're not. It's easy to have a bunch of players and to have a game changer. They don't have enough game changers, man.
No, they don't. And I'm curious who's going to win this
DeBrinket's
battle.
like a notch down game breaker. He ain't the.
I agree. And Raymond and Larkin too. Like Larkin, that's not McDavid or Draisaitl or McKinnon or Matthews. They don't have any of those guys. But this is where it can get complicated, it can get emotional, it can get difficult to handle because Yzerman is a legend in that market. And he did a great job in Tampa before handing over the reins. We've seen what's happened there since he left. They've been great. And he's been in Detroit a long time.
Well, and if you're an owner, you could say Montreal, so they did a 3-year rebuild and they snuck into the playoffs. So what exactly are we doing here?
And Ottawa started where you started 6-7 years ago. You guys were in the same spot. They're in, right? They're in, and Montreal's in, and Detroit doesn't feel like they're even close. You know, they're not a bottom feeder. They're not tanking. They're trying to compete. They're spending money. They're turning rosters over. They're getting new coaches, and it's not going anywhere. Now, one thing you can look back on, and I believe Steve Yzerman, I believe he was the guy running the show, when Quinn Hughes was on the board and went to school at Michigan right down the road. I want to say Detroit had the 4th or 5th pick that year. They might have taken Lucas Raymond in that draft. Quinn Hughes went 7th. They could have taken Quinn Hughes. They chose not to. And that's a miss, clearly. I mean, every team has it. Every team can go back and review their draft board and say, man, we screwed that up.
Not a small one either, dude.
He was down the street at Michigan, and you decided not to take him. And Hughes is in the news today, not because of anything he had to say, but because of what Jim Rutherford, the president of hockey ops in Vancouver, had to say. Let's play this clip. He was asked about the future of Hughes. He's got 2 years left on his deal, right? Like, let's clarify here. Quinn Hughes is not going anywhere for the next 2 years. He has 2 years left on his deal, but by next year, July 1st, he can talk extension. And Rutherford was asked about his future, the money that would be needed to sign him, and here's what Rutherford had to say.
The one thing that we will be sure of, that we will have enough cap space to offer him the kind of contract that he deserves. That's the one thing we can prepare for. And it may not boil down to money with him. You know, he said before he wants to play with his brothers. And that would be partly out of our control, in our control, if we brought his brothers here. So there's many moving parts here. Agree 100%. This franchise cannot afford to lose a guy like Quinn Hughes. And we will do everything we can to keep him here. But at the end of the day, it'll be his decision.
It's kind of just an honest comment. It's like either he goes to
the commentary though.
It's either he goes to New Jersey, like he wants to play with his brothers one time, and I'm sure Brady and Matthew at some time in their career are going to want to play together. And he says either he goes to New Jersey or the other two guys come here. I don't know what Fitzy would think about that, but
well, if I'm in New Jersey, I love hearing that because Vancouver's not getting Jack and Luke Hughes to say we're out of here and we're only going to Vancouver.
Yeah, the idea of moving one guy who is American to go to the American city.
Exactly.
Right.
He's
That's
American.
the easier transaction.
They grew up on the East Coast. His brothers are in Jersey. If I'm Jersey, I'm not filing a complaint. I'm not saying a thing.
You would call the league and say, don't you even complain about that.
Do not find this guy. Don't find the team. Don't say anything. And if I'm the New Jersey Devils, I have my feet up for July 1st, 2027, I guess it would be. And I'm just blank checking Quinn Hughes. And I'm making sure Jack is happy. I'm making sure Luke Hughes is happy. And I'm bringing the trio into town. And that's – I think that's an unfair comment for a couple of different reasons. One, for Quinn now to have to answer for it. Like, I'm a little surprised Jim Rutherford, who's been around forever, you know him better than anybody – he knows what he's doing here. There's some politicking because now the media goes right to Quinn, and it's going to ask him, are you going to go to New Jersey in 2 years? Whenever the Devils roll through town, it's a huge story now. Is Quinn here? Are you going to play with your brothers? Jim Rutherford said it's not about money. It's about playing with your brothers. Puts pressure on Quinn Hughes, the last guy in the organization that deserves any of it because he's the only guy out there that pulled his weight this year. Nobody else did. And conversely, it's a message to the fans that I don't think will be received well. Like if I'm a Vancouver Canuck fan, I despise what happened this year. It was a disaster. Like last year, everything worked. This year, everything was awful.
They can't have nice things. They had one dream season where it all worked out, and then it just went up in smoke.
And now you're telling me that it doesn't matter what Vancouver does, what they build, what they have, what money they offer, how much they win, that Quinn Hughes may just leave because his brothers are in New Jersey?
Well, dude, everybody has that.
Who wants to hear that?
I know they don't want to hear it, but you'll find out very quickly. Like come next July, it's either. That's what happens. Like, it's either gets done. There was some concern around here when Austin Matthews, July 1st, came around, and that didn't get done right away. Everyone was like, oh, boy, here we go.
Yeah, for sure there was. And that's the nature of superstars in particular, but American superstars playing in Canada.
I know, but when you get that one shot at a UFA, you're like, in the back of my mind, as much as I love the city of Vancouver, I love the fans, I have a decision to make where it's all what I want to do. If there's somebody on the other end that wants the same thing, and I'm pretty sure in Quinn Hughes' situation, any team would be like, "You want to play here?" If it's not Vancouver,
of course, he's one of the 5 or 6 best players in the league.
Of course, I'm sure the fans would love it if he came out and said, "I have," because this is what I would do, just for ego alone. I would come out and say, Vancouver fans, you got nothing to worry about because this is the only place I'm going to play my whole career. So don't even think about me leaving. It's not even a chance. But guys don't do that now. They like I don't know if they like the intrigue or it's actually a decision to make.
The wine and dine, exactly. And listen.
Dude, it's intoxicating when you've got like different scenarios, possibly ones that you never thought possible, where teams are like, whatever you want, like, all kinds of different scenarios pop up where you're like, I didn't know that was available.
Also internally, there's a bit. Listen, Quinn Hughes has got a ton of power in that market and with that team, and he can't like what he's seeing right now, right? Like JT Miller's out, Besser's probably going to walk. They can't score. What's going to happen with Rick Tocchet? He and Rick Tocchet, by all accounts, very close.
That might be his biggest factor. Like, here it is. I'll sign here, but we better have a team that looks like they can compete because I want to win and don't want to spend the next 2 or 3 years on a garbage team.
Right. Like, if I can't win, I might as well play with my brothers.
Yeah.
So what's the point of being here?
But if you're the organization, you want also some guarantee, too. What do you want to get rid of assets and try to bring some guys in here, and then you're going to just stiff us at the end of it?
I think that is ultimately the conundrum here, or something they have to flush out.
Yeah.
What are you doing with Pettersson, and what are you doing with Quinn Hughes?
That is what, you know what, it might be better if you go to him and say, what the hell do you think you're going to be up to? Because if you're going to stiff us, it might be the best time to get the best haul back where somebody's going to get 2 years of them or something. Because like you're either coming back or you're not.
Well, what would Jersey be willing to trade? Because that's ultimately what the deal would be. Like if you're Quinn Hughes, you're not going anywhere likely. I don't know his trade protection situation.
Well, dude, this is such pie in the sky. We just talked about him staying to be a Vancouver Canuck forever, but it would just be. I think it would be the biggest.
I mean, it's got to be. You got to have like Heischer coming back. You've got to have. I don't even know, man. I'd have to. The crazy thing is, you'd be saying, "I want Jack and Luke Hughes coming back for Quinn Hughes."
Exactly.
Like that's probably the deal. Again, the guy is a rock star, superstar, Norris-winning, 25-minute-a-night, absolute stalwart on the point who's 25.
Top 50 Dougie, Nico Heischer, and a first?
I don't know if that cuts it if I'm Vancouver.
Of course not.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Quinn Hughes, like it's McDavid. We don't have to go down the list, but we all know who he is. We know what he is and how he plays. And he's their captain. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it would cost a fortune. But if you're going to do that, then I would say Pettersson maybe's got to go too. Like Rutherford was talking today about how he has to become more of a complete player. They've already paid him.
Dude, you know how
do you ask that out of the guy when you've already given him 11.6
Do you know how sad it is for the president of the team to say, you know, it's starting off pretty good because he's been in here like working out and rehabbing and he's taking it seriously. Do you know how much of an indictment that is on the player? Like for someone to actually say that? When he's got a contract that pays him $11.6 million? Like, what was this guy? Like, he's a skinny little guy, and he's been good in the past, but what has he been doing for the past 2 years? Is he just say, piss on it, I'm not stepping foot in the gym, I'm just going to try to play hockey? Like, I don't know. That's a damn mess with that guy.
It is. It's an indictment. All right, Chris Johnston coming up. Something to chew on brought to you by Boston Pizza coming up as well. We'll turn the page and start looking at the games tonight, including Edmonton, Montreal, and Winnipeg in action. And our best bet still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, the Overdrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade, introducing the all-new QI35 drivers for more distance from more of the face. Unlock another level of your game at TaylorMadeGolf.ca.
Did anyone take them?
No one had JT. None of us had Thomas. Like, loser picks, man. And I will say this, Scheffler was kind of hunting but never really pushed. Neither of us had Thomas. No one was picking Andrew Novak. But Mackenzie Hughes, top 5. Mac needed that. Looked good, top 5. A lot of Canadians top 5 and top 10 in this year.
Well, my boy Rusty Henley, he made a run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he always does.
Keegan made a run.
Yeah, like a lot of the guys who didn't make noise really at the Masters, they showed up, and Thomas needed that. He's been in the hunt before. He was in the hunt like a month ago.
Dude, that course looks fascinating. It looks like there's just tree problems.
There's no room, man. It's trees and water. Yeah, like it's like a video game almost, the way that course looks and the way it plays. But yeah, Justin Thomas with the winner, and we got to get back. We've been picking some winners, but we got to get back into the winner's circle here.
Well, next week's a team event.
Yeah, they're down in New Orleans for the team event. McIlroy will be back with Lowry, so we got to do that. And then we've got the PGA coming up. Before you know it, the Memorial, the RBC Canadian Open right around the corner. McIlroy's going to be up there. It's going to be amazing. And before you know it, we could be golfing in the next month and a half or 2 months. Right? You never know.
Wonder, man.
It's just ridiculous, the weather and the courses.
Yeah, well, it's nice for like half a day, then you wake up the next morning and it snows or it's so cold. You're like, this is garbage.
Feels like -1 this morning or something.
Yeah,
it's
terrible,
crazy.
man. Terrible.
Overdrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade, introducing the all-new QI35 drivers for more distance from more of the face. Unlock another level of your game at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. We'll get Noodles back in here. Little mini Jerry's continuing. CJ coming up. Best bet, something to chew on. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.